Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permissible for a person to disobey their parents if they have stopped them from seeking knowledge? Now, this is a frequently asked question. We get this question in different ways, concerning clothing, concerning marriage, concerning studying, concerning hairstyles, all sorts of different denominations of the same question, which is, my parent has not allowed me to do something that I think the religion wants me to do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to do, or they are telling me to do something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want me to do. Now, in order to answer this question, and my advice for the person who finds himself in this scenario, the first thing we have to understand is that being obedient to your parents is wajib. Being disobedient to your parents is not permissible, major sin. And there are many ahadith and ayat in the Quran, so we don't really want to go into that right now, otherwise it becomes lengthy. Therefore, the ulama have said it is only permissible for you to disobey your parents if there is a necessity, such as they've told you to do something haram, or they have prevented from you something which is wajib. So the first thing that we have to understand, that a person practicing Muslimah finds himself in a situation, or herself in a situation, where they feel that their rights towards their parents and the rights towards their religion is conflicting. So the first thing we have to understand is, what is more obligatory? Is it more obligatory? Is it more of an obligation for them to obey their parents, or to wear a particular type of clothing, or a color of clothing, or studying in a place, or befriending someone, or not befriending someone? Which one is more important? That will help us understand what to do in this scenario. So if they have told you to do something, and it doesn't contradict something which is obligatory in your religion, and it doesn't contradict something which is haram in your religion, then you must obey them. But the thing is now, if they've told you to do something which contradicts what is obligatory, you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to do something, and they're telling you to do something which is opposite, what do we do in that scenario? In that scenario, you have to mitigate the situation. You have to look at, is there an alternative? So for example, seeking knowledge is obligatory upon every single Muslim. This is the wording from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It could be that your parent says to you, I don't want you to seek knowledge in such and such masjid, with such and such scholar. What do you do in that scenario? Well, in that scenario, it's very easy for you to balance both. Listen to your parent, but also listen to the mashayikh and the ulama, by not going to the masjid. You don't have to tell them, okay, well, I won't go to the masjid, but I'll listen to it, on YouTube or something else instead. You don't have to tell them that. Therefore, the first thing we have to understand is, what is more obligatory? Is it obligatory for me to do the thing that I want to do, or I feel that religion is telling me to do, or to obey my parents? Second scenario, if there is a genuine clash, because in the first scenario, there is no clash. You listen to your parents because the thing that what you want to do is not on the same level of obligation in Islam, not at the same level of command. But if there is a genuine clash, so say for example they say to you, you can't go for Jumu'ah. What do you do in that scenario? You have to obey your parents, but you have to go for Jumu'ah also at the same time. So what you do in that scenario is you try and mitigate the situation. Look for an alternative. Look for an alternative. Obviously, making dua for them at the same time, giving them nasiha at the same time. But this is what my advice would be. Because sometimes people will rush towards, just disobeying their parents to say, well, they've got no rights over me, etc. And that's definitely not correct. One of the things that can be adopted in this scenario, now this has to be understood for what it is and understood by its conditions. And I would encourage you for you to, look at the conditions of this, but to adopt tawriyah. Tawriyah is where you say one thing, intending one thing, and the person who has heard you has heard something else, or understood something else from the same speech that you have uttered. And we find this in the Quran with Ibrahim, we find this in the Quran with Yusuf and his brothers, and it's there over again. But Umar radiallahu anh said that the person who engages in too much Torah will then be known as a liar. He's always talking in riddles. So for example, if they say to you, you can't go for Salatul Jumu'ah, then you say to them, okay, I won't go for Jumu'ah in that masjid. You see? So now you have said something, they have understood something else. So this is something that can be adopted as a possible solution. Also, like we have said, dua, giving them nasiha, maybe getting other people involved, maybe explaining to them the reality of what it is that you want to do, give them da'wah and have discussions with them, get books for them to read, and all these other things. But I mean, the main purpose of this clip here is to explain that there sometimes may be a perceived clash when there actually isn't. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He guides us all and He unites us all upon the truth, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala resurrects us all with our loved ones entering into the highest level of Firdaus al-A'la. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala Muhammad.